After 13 years managing teams and now a director coaching other managers, I've noticed the managers who don't get promoted all make the same mistake. They speak the same way employees do. And when that happens, your team won't listen to you and your boss won't promote you. So in this video, I'm going to show you how promotable managers speak so you can start doing the same and get promoted too. So what is the first mistake managers make that you want to avoid? Well, to show you how this works, I want you to see this mistake in action. I'm going to play 2 short clips of the mistake and the way promotable managers speak, and I want you to see if you can figure this out. So here's the first clip.
I am the #1 most impactful artist of our generation. I am Shakespeare in the flesh.
Now, here's the thing. Kanye is literally one of the best to ever do music. He's a generational talent. But after listening to that clip, what is it about the way he spoke that just turns you off and makes you not want to listen to him? While you think about that, here's the correct way you want to speak to keep people's attention and trust.
To those who would tear the world down, we will defeat you. To those who seek peace and security, we support you. And to all those who have wondered if America's beacon still burns as bright, tonight we proved once more that the true strength of our nation comes not from the might of our arms or the scale of our wealth, but from the enduring power of our ideals.
Now listen, I have some criticism of Obama as a politician, but even if you don't agree with him, you still want to listen and his words just seem to draw you in. So what's the difference? Well, here's what's happening. Kanye talks almost entirely in I and me. The story is always centered on him. Obama speaks in we and us. He pulls you into something bigger than himself. One style makes you feel like you're watching someone talk about themselves, and the other makes you feel like you're a part of the team. And that tiny shift completely changes how people react. That's why someone can be incredibly talented and still push people away, while someone else, even with flaws, can command attention and trust. And if you can do this correctly, you'll get promoted. So how can you do that? Here's how to actually apply this at work. And don't worry about taking notes on this. I created a cheat sheet of this whole video so you can just download it in the link below. Most managers talk like they're giving a personal update. They describe what they did, what they think, or what's blocking them. It sounds normal, but it subtly pushes everyone into the audience. If you want to sound more like someone leadership trusts, stop talking like the spotlight is on you. Instead, talk like you're standing with the group facing the problem together. So when you're giving an update, don't lead with yourself. Lead with the situation and where it's going. Instead of saying, I've been working on this issue and I'm running into issues, say, we're running into a few issues that affect the timeline. Instead of saying, I don't agree with this approach, say, if we go this way, we all take on these risks. You're not necessarily changing the message, you're just changing the position that you're speaking from. One sounds like you're sharing your experience, and the other sounds like you're taking responsibility for the actual outcome. And that small shift changes how people feel when you speak. They stop hearing a person talking about themselves and start hearing someone who feels accountable for how this turns out. And that's the signal leaders notice when promotion time comes around. But even with using language that makes you sound accountable, there's another mistake that managers make that will destroy your credibility and your shot at getting promoted. But by using the framework I'm about to show you, you'll dramatically stand out from most managers. So how do you do that? Well, to explain how this works, I want you to think about that one friend or coworker who says a lot, but at the same time, somehow doesn't say much at all. They just keep talking, they keep giving you all this context and this background, and you're just sitting there thinking like, okay, that's crazy, bro. Okay. But in your head, you're just like, dude, land the plane. Obviously, we can laugh at this, but believe it or not, that's exactly what executives feel when you don't lead with the point when you speak to them. Not because what you're saying is wrong, not because you're not smart. They're just waiting for the plane to land. My favorite saying for this is that they care what time it is. They don't care how the clock is built. When you drone on like this, people stop listening to you, which is a death sentence for a promotion. So how can you avoid this? This is where the framework Minto pyramid comes in. Imagine an executive asks you a question. In their head, they're just thinking, just tell me the answer. I'll ask for the rest if I need it. The Minto pyramid is built for that moment. The top is going to be your conclusion. Under that are going to be the reasons, and at the bottom is all the detail you worked so hard on, the data, the analyst, the context, waiting quietly unless someone asks. Most managers accidentally flip the pyramid upside down. They start at the bottom and they share the thinking, the background, the options, and eventually, if there's time, they land at the point. The problem isn't that they're wrong, it's that the executive had to work to find the answer. Using the Minto pyramid just simply means that you're doing the work before you speak. You decide where you land, you lead with it, and then you support it only as much as the room needs. When you consistently speak this way, leaders stop asking you to summarize, and they stop reframing your updates. They end up trusting you when you talk because they know that you've already thought things through. So this week, try building your pyramid once and decide your answer before the meeting. That's how you show that you're ready for the next level. But even when you can say things in a clean way, how do you make your words stick in people's brains? Well, there's a simple thing that you can do that always makes people remember your point long after you say it. And being remembered for making great points is how you get promoted. So how can you do that? An easy way to explain how this works is by looking at a kid story we've all heard growing up as kids. Do you remember the story, The Boy Who Cried Wolf? What do you actually remember about that story? I'm sure you don't remember the exact wording. You don't remember every detail on how it was told, but you do remember what it meant. You remember that the boy kept lying, people stopped believing him, and then when it finally mattered, no one showed up. Now, here's the interesting part. If someone had just told you, make sure you have credibility or people won't trust you, you probably would have understood that, but you probably still wouldn't remember it today. The reason that lesson stuck with you isn't because it was explained well. It was because it was wrapped in a story, and that story carried the meaning for you. Which is why, as a manager trying to get promoted, storytelling matters because they make your points memorable. And at senior levels, that's everything. Executives hear smart points all day. What actually influences decisions later are the ideas they can recall, repeat, and pass on to someone else. So how do you do this? Well, here's where storytelling really earns its keep. I don't use it when everyone already agrees. I use it when someone is dug in and they've made up their mind on something. It's usually where when you push harder, it would just turn into a debate. A story lets you introduce a new way of seeing the situation without directly attacking their position. So instead of saying something like, I think you're wrong, just don't say that ever. It's a terrible way to approach a point. You're basically saying, let me show you something that I've seen before, which will lower their defense. And this will allow people to reconsider your point. When you're in that moment, this is how you want to apply storytelling. My favorite framework has always been feel, felt, found. First, you start with feel. Name their perspective so they know you hear it. I completely understand why this feels like the fastest way around. My last team was in this same situation. Then you move to felt. This is where the story comes in, but keep it light and specific. That team that I had felt the exact same way when they were under this kind of pressure. Then we're going to land found. This is the insight that you want to introduce. What they found was that moving fast here actually slowed everything down later. What makes this work is that you're not trying to win the argument in the room. You're just planting a thought that keeps working after the meeting ends. When someone later says, remember that example about that team that rushed it? Your point comes back with it intact. So this week, use this once when you feel resistance rising, when logic just isn't landing and pushing would only make positions harder. Switch to feel, felt, found instead. You're not backing off your recommendation. You're giving people a safer way to walk toward it on their own. When you get people to remember what you said and make a decision because of it, you become a clear pick for the next level. But what do you do if you have something complex, but the people you're speaking to are having a hard time understanding? Well, there's a simple idea you can use that will help give people a light bulb moment that not only helps them understand, but it makes them feel smart. And when you make your bosses feel smart, you're way more likely to get promoted. So how do you do that? Let me show you how this works with an example. If I told you long-term success requires patience, pacing, and sustained effort over time, you'd probably agree, but then immediately forget what I just said. But if I said life is a marathon, not a sprint, you would know exactly what I was talking about. I wouldn't have to explain pacing or burnout or why going all in too early backfires. That one sentence does it all. And that's the point. That phrase works because it takes something complex and turns it into something visual, simple, and easy to repeat. And that's what a metaphor does, which is why great directors use them. When you're trying to explain a system, a constraint, or a trade-off, a metaphor lets people get it without needing the full explanation, and more importantly, it lets them pass it on accurately. If your idea can only live inside a long explanation, it's not going to be repeated easily. But if it fits inside a metaphor, it's going to travel. And when your thinking travels, your influence does too. So how can you use this? Well, here's when I reach into my bag of tricks for a metaphor. It's usually when I have a complex idea that I need to explain and I want them to get the concept of it first. A metaphor helps because it gives everyone the same picture to look at. If you've been watching my channel long enough, you've probably seen me use the metaphor of a wedding bride or Jenga blocks to try to get my point across. The trick is to not overthink it. First, just ask yourself what this situation feels like in real life. Is it pushing too hard? Is it carrying too much? Rushing something that needs time? Then just say it as plain as possible. This feels like we're trying to sprint a marathon. Or we're loading more onto a plate that's already full. And then right after that, tie it to what you think you should do. And that would sound like, that's why I don't think adding this project right now is the right move. Make sure that you don't stack metaphors and don't over-explain them. If you have to explain them, it's not working. The right ones just click. What I've noticed is that people remember the picture even if they forget the discussion. I have so many managers that jump on a call with me after watching one of my videos that say the wedding bride metaphor just really stuck out to them. So try this once this week. When a conversation feels messy or stuck, pause and describe what it feels like in everyday terms, then say what that means for the decision. And you're not trying to be clever here, you're just helping everyone see the same thing at the same time. And that's how promotable managers keep groups aligned without talking more. But even the best metaphor won't overcome poor thinking when it comes to getting promoted. Your leadership can tell the difference if you've taken the time to think strategically. So if you want to get promoted, go watch this video next where I show you exactly how promotable managers think.